Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pearl Jam Guy podcast. I did one of these, which was really short and I didn't really do it right. But anyways, I'm the second episode ever of the Pearl Jam Guy podcast. My first one was last year, I think. I think it was last year. Maybe it just feels like last year because it's December. But anyways, today I'm going to be talking about everything that went on and stuff like that. And MTV Unplugged, when Pearl Jam played their MTV Unplugged performance at Kaufman Studios, New York, Queens, New York, on March 16th, 1992. So let's get right into it. This is how it starts off. This is what happens. So the crowd starts applauding, and then Dave Abbruzzese, Jeff Ament, Mike McCready, and Stone Gossard come walking out. They sit down, make sure their instruments are in tune, and then eventually Eddie walks out. Someone in his hand, like the cellist or something, goes over, talks to someone, never know who it is. Then he says, just take a second and look around, see all these friends and people. And then he says he knows another guy named Eddie who had 3 friends and wondering if they were there, and says he's seen everything we've done. I think that's what he said. And he sits down and says, "Oh wait, this is a TV show. I forgot. We gotta start this now." And goes, "All right." And then somebody from the MTV staff counts down for the applauding, and then they applaud, and Eddie says, "All right, 1, 2, 3, 4," and goes right into Oceans. With Oceans, usually starting a lot of their sets back in 1992. Very nice, soft performance of it, and very great performance. Probably the best performance of it. So if you want to hear what Eddie says, I would play it, but would I get copyright for that? No, not the more of. Why would I get copyright for him just talking? Alright. But alright, and then after Oceans, Eddie says, "That was a little love song I wrote on my surfboard," and then kind of laughs. And then he says, "No, it was actually written for someone named Beth. I'll hopefully see tomorrow." And then says, "What is this? Oh, this is State of Love and Trust." Busted down the pretest and goes straight into State of Love and Trust. Which, if you want to hear some of it, I found the uncut version on Daily Motion. Alright, here's what he says.
A little love song I wrote about my surfboard. No, actually it's to somebody named Beth too. Hopefully I'll see her more. What is this? Oh, this is State of Love and Trust. Busted down to pretest.
Alright. So they play a very powerful acoustic in State of Love and Trust. And it was a really good version of State of Love and Trust. Probably, maybe not the best, but a really good one for that. And yeah, and that sets more of the tension in the room, and it gives some more hype in the room. Alright, and then after State of Love and Trust, they take a little break, make sure their stuff is in tune, and Eddie says, "I would think this applause would be legitimate if I didn't hear you having practice before. See, now I don't trust you at all." And then after he says that, somebody working there comes up to him and gives him a cup of what would be a cup of like coffee or tea or whatever. I think it's tea, and he like put one of those tea bags in the water in the little mug and then stirs it and then takes a drinks of it, and I said drinks, and takes a drink of it and puts it on the little drum thing, whatever it's called, the drum stand. Sorry about that. Anyways, and then after that, he talks to Stone, and he talks a little bit, saying his Polaroids are in his shop, and then they say, and then someone, an MTV executive, and then someone working there says, "You gotta do the applause," and then he's like, "Yeah, you gotta do the applause tonight," and then the crowd laughs, and then they do a little tease to "Rockin' in the Free World" by Neil Young, and then Eddie says something like he says something that we can't really hear, and then Jeff or whoever says it, I think Jeff or Stone says it, and then Eddie repeats it saying, Neil's a witness to us," I think is what he says. And I can't turn on subtitles. You know, I'm trying to get all this information, because I mean I don't remember it exactly. I haven't watched the uncut MTV Unplugged performance in a while, and I couldn't find it on YouTube anymore, because there's like 2 videos. I remember being on like MTV on YouTube of the uncut performance, but I have to watch it on Daily Motion now, and I don't think there's a thing called Daily Motion on Premium, so gotta watch ads. Alright, and then after all that happens, someone working their console, and for the applause starts and goes straight into a live. And then at the intro, Eddie takes off his hat, makes his hair all go down, and he goes through it's a very emotional performance of live, a very good one. It's probably the best. But anyways, and then at the end of a live, Eddie picks up his mic stand and hits the bottom of it onto one of Dave Abbruzzese cymbals, brings it back down, doesn't even say anything, I believe, and goes into black. Alright, and once they go into black, it's a very emotional performance of black, one of the best performances of black, probably the best. And yeah, I know I've been saying this for like every song, but like this is the best show Pearl Jam has ever played, okay, man? And very emotional performance of live. Nothing too special. I mean, I meant to say black. It's a very emotional performance of black. It's nothing too special. But it was very emotional, at least. And then after black, they take a little break. Alright, so during their little break after black, so Jeff grabs his 12-string bass, and Mike gets his other guitar back, and they make sure that 12-string bass is good and everything, and then they go into this little jam that, I mean, you can, on the completely unplugged CD, which is almost a full performance of MTV Unplugged. It's just missing the break after after Stadium Trust, because for some reason it goes into Porch version 1, but that's a whole different story. But so during their little break, they play a little jam of what I believe is supposed to be Dissident, like a little tease of Dissident before it was Dissident, if I'm not mistaken. But for some reason on the video, it cuts, which I don't think I've ever found a complete version of that. But there's a lot Eddie says, and I can't say, and a lot to remember, so I'm just going to play it for you guys to see what Eddie says. So then Eddie says this.
That's how we write, we just sit around and play.
Dun, dun, dun.
I gotta think of something to say besides fuck. What can I say? I think you can say fuck. It's a free country. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. You almost probably can't get an abortion soon, and then you won't be able to say fuck. I just want to say you should be able to have a fucking abortion. That's right.
Alright, so after all of that is said, Eddie says stuff about abortion stuff. They go into Germany. And which is, just to let you know, everybody but Jeff has been playing acoustic stuff. I mean, Jeff has an acoustic bass which he's used so far for Stay Alone Just Live, Black, and is going to use for the next song and the last song. But he's using his 12-string bass for Jeremy, and then his fretless bass for Oceans and Even Flow, and those two basses are electric. So that's the only thing not electric. I mean, not acoustic. Well, anyways, so they go into Jeremy. Very great version of Jeremy. And since this is live television, Eddie can't cuss, so he doesn't even say the F word in Jeremy at all. And then after that, they say a few things. Alright, so after Jeremy, Eddie stands up, grabs a drink of water. Jeff switches from his 12-string bass to his 4-string acoustic bass. And then Jeff says in his microphone, "New bass." And Eddie says, wait, what? I literally just watched it, bro. Yeah, so then Eddie says, they gave us a few rules about, no cussing and anything like that. And the crowd starts cheering. And, he said, and they said nothing about slamming or anything. And the crowd goes crazy again. And he said, if there's a song, and starts taking off his jacket. And then says, this could be the one. And then he takes it off. And then he says, I just want to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, and starts off with Porch acoustic. Never thought it could happen, but it did, and it sounded amazing. Now, this version of Porch is probably the best. No, second. The best is the one from December 31st, 1992, in New York City, New York. But anyways, so then they play a song, and then during the solo, Eddie purposely falls off the stool, gets back on, lays on his stomach on the stool, and then gets back on it. Jeff jumps onto the bass drum and playing bass, hitting the cymbals in a pattern. And then Eddie stands on his chair. Grabs a Sharpie out of his pocket, or I don't know where he got it, and then writes on his arm, Prochos. Hold on 1 second. Alright, anyways, I have no clue how to say it. And then Eddie jumps off the stool, kicks the stool down, goes a little crazy, and so does Jeff after he jumps off the thing, off the bass drum, and then Jeff sits back down, and they go back into and then Eddie goes back into his vocals, singing while standing, and then it starts going a little crazy. Eddie starts looking a little scary, not literally, but and then they do that, and then at the end, they start going crazy, throwing microphone stands, microphones, instruments around. And then Eddie has this to say.
Thanks very much. It didn't feel like a TV show at all, actually. Oh, by the way, this was MTV and we were unplugged. And they're really gonna unplug us now, so we'll see you later.
Alright, so hopefully I'll cut that out. But I just realized my microphone was off that whole entire time talking about that. Which makes me so mad. So anyways, after he swings his microphone and kicks it, and the band leaves, Jeff puts his a Mookie Blaylock little action figure thing on his seat. Dave Aberzees puts the microphone up to him. Some of the crowd's yelling Mookie, and then and Eddie grabs his camera and says, my Polaroid's in the shop, so this is gonna have to do. So it's not his Polaroid, obviously. Then grabs his jacket and leaves. And then they have an unexpected encore. Now, right before he talks while sitting down, we don't know if he said anything while standing. But anyways, so he has his jacket back on and everything. And then, alright, so after, they sit down, come out for an unexpected encore. Eddie says, Jack McDonald is his name. And he says, who's the one that gave me that Bears cap? And then a few seconds later, they go right into Even Flow. And it's kind of a weird version of Even Flow. I mean, they play it every day. But, so they decided to play it since they didn't play it in their set. Some people say that it's the worst version of Even Flow ever, but in my opinion, it's probably, I'd say, like, the second best. Probably the best of all. But anyways, so after Even Flow, alright. Anyways, so after Even Flow, Eddie has this to say. I really don't want to say all of it and have to memorize it right now. So this is what he has to say.
Do we get to play? You would. At least they know songs when we play. We can play that? I know what we're gonna play.
Alright, so after Eddie says what he has to say, they go straight into Neil Young's Rockin' in the Free World. And then everybody but Eddie leaves. He's about to leave and then goes over to his mic and says, Kurt says we're poison or something, and then, they're like, cheering everything. Then somebody in the crowd says F Kurt, and then Eddie kind of laughs and says some other things, but I don't remember because I believe this video doesn't have the ending. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say. Okay, after rocking the free world, so Mike purposely falls off his chair. Sunglasses says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mike McCready," and then Eddie kind of stands on his chair with one foot, jumps off, and then they all leave, and then Eddie says, Kurt says poison, and then someone says F Kurt and whatever. But obviously, I can just tell right here.
So what do you?
So he says something like, what do you think? So like Kurt says we're poison or something. Someone else says F Kurt. And then I think he says something else. But besides that, he walks off stage. Pearl Jam's done. And they're not coming back out. But anyways, that's what happened during the whole performance of Pearl Jam's MTV Unplugged. I'm recording this on December 1st, 2025. I'm probably going to upload it tomorrow because I really don't feel like... I'll probably edit it. I don't really feel like uploading it right now. But I might, but you never know. If this is uploaded December 1st and I uploaded the same day I recorded and edited it. But I probably won't. I'll maybe upload it tomorrow if I remember. But anyways, see you next time. Please subscribe, like this video, comment down below, and I'm gonna do more Pro Gym Guy episodes. And go subscribe to my second channel if you're into like SML and stuff like that. Go watch us the Sesame Street Plus show. We play Sesame Street plushies. Kind of like SML. Kind of like them. I mean, we don't have multiple voice actors. It's just me and my dad. But anyways, see you next time and goodbye.